The moving truck pulled away from the curb as Amara and Zaria Johnson stood in front of their new home, a two-story brick house with a neat front yard. The 16-year-old twins looked at each other with a mix of hope and worry in their eyes. Their dad had gotten a big promotion at work, which meant more money for the family, but also a move from their diverse neighborhood in the city to this quiet suburb called Lakeside. "What do you think?" Then Mom asked, putting her arms around both girls. Her smile was encouraging, but Amara could tell she was nervous too. "It's nice," Zaria said, always the more positive one. "The house is bigger than our old apartment." Amara nodded but didn't say anything. She was already missing their old friends, the corner store where they'd buy snacks after school, and the community center where they'd been training in Taekwondo for the past 10 years. Both girls had earned their black belts 2 years ago, an achievement that had made their parents burst with pride. That night, as they unpacked their rooms, Amara found their black belts wrapped carefully in tissue paper. "Should we hang these up?" she asked her sister. Zaria thought for a moment. "Let's keep them in the drawers for now. I don't want to be known as those karate girls at our new school. I want people to see us for our brains first." Amara agreed. In their old school, everyone knew about their martial arts skills. Here, they could have a fresh start. The next morning, the dad drove them to Lakeside High School, a building that looked more like a fancy college than a public school. "Remember," he said before they got out of the car, "you two are smart, kind, and stronger than you look. Just be yourselves." The twins nodded, grabbed their backpacks, and walked toward the entrance. As soon as they stepped inside, they felt the stares. In their old school, being black wasn't unusual. The student body had been a mix of different races and backgrounds. But here, as they looked around the crowded hallway, they realized they were among very few students of color. "Everyone's looking at us," Amara whispered. "We're new. Plus, we're twins." "People always stare at twins," Zaria replied, but she knew it was more than that. They found the main office where a woman with gray hair and glasses handed them their schedules. "You're in luck," she said with a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. "You have most classes together since your records from your old school are nearly identical." Their first class was American history. When they walked in, the teacher, Mr. Powell, introduced them to the class. "Class, these are our new students, Amara and Zaria Johnson. They've just moved here from the city." 25 pairs of eyes studied them as they found empty seats near the back. A girl with blonde hair leaned over to her friend and whispered something that made both of them laugh. Amara felt her cheeks grow warm, but she remembered what their Taekwondo master always told them about keeping calm in uncomfortable situations. During lunch, they sat alone at the end of a long table. A few students nearby moved to different seats. Others just stared. "This is going to be harder than I thought," Amara said quietly. Zaria nodded but then straightened her shoulders. "We've broken boards with our bare hands. We can handle a few stairs." That afternoon, they discovered a local dojo just 10 minutes from their new home. The owner, Master Chen, welcomed them warmly when they mentioned their black belts. "We train every evening at 6, he said. "You're welcome to join us." For the next few days at school, the twins kept to themselves, focusing on their classes and trying to ignore the whispers and stares. At night, they trained at Master Chen's dojo, finding comfort in the familiar routine of stretches, forms, and sparring. What they didn't know was that the whispers at school were about to become much louder, and their skills, the ones they decided to keep quiet about, would soon be tested in ways they never expected. At home, their mom noticed their quietness at dinner. "How's the new school?" she asked. "Fine," both girls said at the same time, not wanting to worry their parents. Their dad looked up from his plate. "Just fine?" Amara shrugged. "We're still getting used to it. It's different." Different was an understatement, but the twins had faced challenges before. They just hadn't realized that the biggest one was right around the corner. 3 weeks had passed since Amara and Zaria started at Lakeside High. They'd settled into a routine, go to class, eat lunch together, hurry home, and then head to Master Chen's dojo for evening training. They hadn't made any real friends yet, but at least people had stopped staring as much. Or so they thought. It was Tuesday morning when things started to change. Amara was at her locker, switching books for her next class, when someone bumped into her hard. Her books scattered across the floor. Oops, sorry, said a girl with long blonde hair and a smile that didn't match her cold eyes. Didn't see you there. Her name was Heather Williams, one of the most popular girls in school. Amara bit her tongue and bent down to pick up her books. As she reached for her math textbook, a boy's foot stepped on it. My bad, he said, not moving his foot. Amara looked up to see Brad Thompson, the football team captain. He was tall with broad shoulders and a face that was handsome until he smirked. Didn't notice you down there. After a few uncomfortable seconds, he lifted his foot and walked away, high-fiving another boy. That night, Amara told Zaria what happened. It wasn't an accident, she said as they walked to the dojo. They did it on purpose. Zaria sighed. Something similar happened to me in gym class. A group of girls kept whispering and looking at me. When I walked by, one of them said something about people who don't belong here. At the dojo, the twins found peace in their training. Master Chen had them working on a complicated form that required total focus. For 2 hours, they forgot about school and lost themselves in the familiar movements. Your technique is excellent, Master Chen told them afterward. But I sensed troubled minds. The twins exchanged glances. It's just school stuff, Zaria said. Master Chen nodded thoughtfully. Remember, the greatest strength comes not from knowing how to fight, but from knowing when not to. The next day at lunch, the twins sat at their usual table when Heather and her friends took seats nearby. I heard their dad only got hired because the company needed to look diverse, Heather said loudly. My dad says they probably got into this school because of special treatment, added another girl. Amara's hands tightened around her sandwich. Zaria kicked her gently under the table, a silent reminder to stay calm. After school, Brad and his friends were waiting in the hallway. Hey, city girls, he called out. This neighborhood has standards, you know. Not everyone fits in here. One of his friends laughed. Maybe they should go back where they came from. Zaria pulled Amara along. They're not worth it, she whispered. The next day, the twins went to the principal's office during lunch break. We've been experiencing some bullying, Zaria explained to Principal Turner, a thin woman with tired eyes. What kind of bullying? She asked, not looking up from her computer. Amara described the incidents, including the comments about not belonging. Principal Turner finally looked at them. Did anyone else hear these comments? Not teachers, no, Zaria admitted. And was there any physical harm? No, but... Girls, I understand starting at a new school can be difficult, but unless there's clear evidence of bullying, there's not much I can do. Perhaps you're just being oversensitive to normal teenage behavior. As they left the office, Amara struggled to control her anger. Oversensitive? Is she serious? That evening at the dojo, the twins sparred harder than usual. Their kicks were sharper, their movements faster. Master Chen noticed. Channel that frustration into discipline, he advised. Remember why you began this journey, not to hurt others, but to build inner strength. After practice, they walked home in the dark, both quiet with their own thoughts. We should stand up for ourselves, Amara finally said. We will, Zaria replied, but not their way. We're better than that. At the dinner table that night, their mom noticed something was off. Everything okay at school? She asked. Just teenage stuff, Zaria said with a forced smile. Their dad looked up. You know you can tell us anything, right? The twins nodded but stayed quiet. They had always fought their own battles, and this one would be no different. What they didn't know was that Heather and Brad were just getting started, and things were about to get much worse. Amara was scrolling through her phone during lunch when a text from an old friend popped up. Have you seen this? With a link attached. When she clicked it, her stomach dropped. It was a private social media group called Keep Lakeside Pure, and it was filled with posts about her and Zaria. You need to see this, she whispered to her sister, sliding the phone over. Zaria's eyes widened as she scrolled through the posts. There were photos of them taken without their knowledge, in class, at lunch, walking to their car. Underneath were comments like, they don't belong here, and someone needs to teach them their place. Heather made this, Zaria said, pointing to the admin name. Look how many members there are. 42 students had joined the group, almost a quarter of their grade. That afternoon, the twins were quieter than usual during the drive home. Their mom noticed. Bad day? She asked, glancing at them in the rearview mirror. Just tired, Amara said. They'd agreed not to tell their parents yet. Dad had been so happy about his new job, and Mom was finally painting again after years of putting her art aside to help support the family. At the dojo that evening, Master Chen had them practice breaking boards, a skill they hadn't worked on in months. Focus your energy, he instructed as Amara prepared to strike a thick wooden board. See beyond the obstacle. Amara thought of Heather's group, of all those hateful comments. With a sharp cry, she brought her hand down, splitting the board cleanly in two. Good, Master Chen nodded. But I sense anger in your strike. Remember, Amara, anger makes you strong for a moment, but calm makes you strong for life. The next day at school, something had changed. People were looking at their phones, then at the twins, then whispering to each other. What's going on? Zaria asked a girl named May who sat next to her in English class. May looked uncomfortable. Someone leaked screenshots from that group about you two. Now everyone knows about it. By lunchtime, the whole school was buzzing. As the twins walked into the cafeteria, the room grew quieter, then erupted in whispers. I can't do this, Amara said, turning to leave. But Zaria grabbed her arm. Yes, you can. We're not running away. They had just sat down when a boy approached their table. He had dark hair and glasses and looked nervous. Hi, I'm Lucas, he said. Can I sit here? The twins exchanged surprised glances. No one had asked to sit with them before. Sure, Zaria said. Lucas sat down. I just wanted to say that group is disgusting, and not everyone here thinks like that. Before they could respond, a girl with long black hair sat down next to him. I'm Aisha, she said, and Lucas is right. A lot of us are really angry about that group. For the first time since moving to Lakeside, the twins didn't eat lunch alone. Lucas told jokes that actually made them laugh, and Aisha invited them to join the school newspaper. She's the editor, Lucas explained. And a total boss. We need photographers, Aisha said. Either of you interested? After school, Heather cornered them at their lockers. Two of her friends stood behind her like bodyguards. Enjoying your fame? She sneered. Don't get too comfortable. People are just feeling sorry for you. Whatever helps you sleep at night, Zaria replied calmly, closing her locker. Heather's face reddened. You think you're so special? My dad's on the school board. One call from him, and your dad's company might suddenly realize they don't need him anymore. Amara stepped forward, but Zaria pulled her back. Not worth it, she whispered. That night, the twins stayed late at the dojo, practicing until their muscles ached and their minds cleared. Your form has improved, Master Chen told them, but your spirits are troubled. Zaria sighed. We're dealing with some people who don't like us because of how we look. Master Chen nodded slowly. When I first came to this country, many did not welcome me either. They saw only my differences, not my humanity. What did you do? Amara asked. I lived with dignity. I excelled at my craft. And when necessary, I stood my ground. He looked at them both. The storm is coming. Be ready, but do not seek it. On the walk home, Amara checked her phone and stopped walking. Look at this, she said. A new message had been posted in Heather's group. Spirit Week is coming. Time to show them they're not welcome at our school. The twins looked at each other, understanding passing between them. The storm was indeed coming. Spirit Week arrived with colorful posters lining the hallways and students dressed in Lakeside High's blue and silver colors. Despite the tension brewing online, the twins decided to participate, wearing matching blue shirts on Monday. We belong here as much as anyone, Zaria had said that morning as they got ready. Hiding won't solve anything. The first few days of Spirit Week passed without major incidents, just the usual stares and whispers. Aisha and Lucas stuck by their side between classes, and a few other students had started saying hello in the hallways. Maybe things are getting better, Amara said hopefully on Thursday as they walked to their lockers after the final bell. Zaria wasn't convinced. Heather's been too quiet. That worries me. They gathered their books and headed for the parking lot where their mom would pick them up. The afternoon sun was bright, and the lot was full of students climbing into cars or waiting for rides. There they are, a voice called out as they reached the edge of the parking lot. Brad stood leaning against a truck, surrounded by 5 of his football friends. They pushed off the vehicle and formed a loose circle, cutting off the path to where their mom usually picked them up. Amara felt her body tense, years of training automatically putting her on alert. Beside her, Zaria shifted her weight slightly, a subtle movement only her sister would notice. "We need to get by," Zaria said calmly. "Our mom's waiting." Brad stepped forward, his face twisted in a mean smile. "This school was fine before you two showed up. Now everything's about poor little you, isn't it?" One of his friends, a stocky boy with a buzz cut, moved closer, everyone feeling sorry for the city girls. "We don't want any trouble," Amara said, keeping her voice steady despite the pounding in her chest. "Should have thought of that before you came here," Brad replied. He looked around at the growing crowd of students. Some had phones out, recording. That's when Amara realized this was planned. They wanted an audience. "Let's just go around them," Zaria whispered, but as they tried to step aside, one of Brad's friends moved to block them. "We haven't finished our welcome committee meeting," he sneered, giving Zaria a shove that sent her stumbling backward. For a split second, Amara saw a flash of something in her sister's eyes, the look she got before a sparring match. But just as quickly, Zaria regained her composure, straightening up without retaliating. "Don't touch my sister," Amara said, her voice low but firm. Brad laughed and reached out, grabbing Amara's arm above the elbow. His fingers dug into her skin. "Or what? What are you going to do about it?" The twins' eyes met in silent communication, a skill they'd developed over years of training together. In that moment, they both knew this had gone too far. These boys had no idea who they were dealing with. More students had gathered now, forming a circle around them. Phones were held high, recording everything. Amara could hear whispers, some concerned, others eager for a fight. "Last chance," Amara said quietly, looking down at Brad's hand on her arm. "Let go." Brad's grip tightened. "Make me." The moment stretched like a rubber band pulled too tight. In the distance, car horns humped and birds called, but in their circle, everything went quiet. A small smile crossed Amara's face, not cruel, just confident. This was a situation they'd trained for countless times, though usually with padded opponents in a safe dojo. Brad must have seen something change in her expression because confusion flashed across his face. For the first time, uncertainty crept into his eyes. "What are you smiling at?" he demanded, giving her arm a shake. "You made a mistake," Amara replied simply. "Yeah? What's that? You thought we were weak." As Brad opened his mouth to respond, Amara moved. It wasn't dramatic or showy, just a precise twist of her arm, turning Brad's wrist at an angle bodies aren't meant to bend. The pressure point technique they'd learned in their second year of training. Brad's grip broke instantly. He stumbled back, eyes wide with shock and the first hint of fear. No one had expected this, least of all Brad and his friends. The crowd went completely silent. Nearby, one of Brad's friends lunged at Zaria, grabbing for her backpack. With a move as fluid as water, she sidestepped, using his momentum to send him off balance. The twins stood back to back now, their stances relaxed but ready, just as they'd practiced hundreds of times in the dojo. "What the?" Brad started, rubbing his wrist. The crowd pressed closer, phones still recording, as everyone realized this confrontation had just taken an unexpected turn. Time seemed to slow down in the parking lot. The twins stood back to back, their breathing calm despite the circle of boys surrounding them. Years of training had prepared them for this moment, not to fight, but to protect themselves if needed. Brad's face flushed red with anger and embarrassment as he rubbed his wrist. "What did you do to me?" he demanded. "Pressure point technique," Amara replied calmly. "You'll be fine in a minute." The stocky boy with the buzz cut lunged at Zaria again, this time swinging his fist. With a movement so smooth it looked like dancing, Zaria shifted her weight, caught his arm, and used his own momentum to send him stumbling past her. He nearly fell face first onto the pavement before catching himself. "Don't," Zaria warned when he turned around, his face twisted with rage. The crowd of students had grown larger now. Some were calling for the boys to leave the twins alone, while others egged them on. Almost everyone had phones out, recording everything. "What are you, some kind of karate freaks?" Another boy asked, circling to Amara's left. "Taekwondo," actually, Amara corrected him. "Black belts. For 3 years now." This information rippled through the crowd. The twins could see the calculation in Brad's eyes as he reassessed the situation. What had seemed like an easy target now looked like a serious miscalculation. "We don't want to fight," Zaria announced, her voice carrying across the parking lot. "We never did. We just want to be left alone." "Too late for that," Brad said, but there was uncertainty in his voice. He glanced at his friends, trying to save face. "Get them." Two boys rushed forward at once. The twins moved in perfect sync, as they had in countless tournaments. Amara blocked a grab with her forearm, then swept her attacker's leg, sending him to the ground with a thud. Zaria ducked under a wild swing, then pushed her palm against her attacker's chest, not to hurt him, but to create distance. "Stay back," Amara warned as the boys scrambled to their feet. The shocked expressions on the bullies' faces would have been funny in any other situation. They had expected easy victims, not trained martial artists. "We don't want trouble," Amara stated calmly, her voice steady despite the adrenaline coursing through her body. "But we won't be victims either." Brad looked around at the crowd, at his friends who seemed suddenly unsure, at the twins who stood confident and unafraid. For the first time since this began, he looked uncertain. "This isn't over," he muttered, but made no move to attack again. A car horn honked nearby. The twins' mom had arrived to pick them up, unaware of what was happening. "We're leaving now," Zaria announced. "Please move aside." The circle of boys parted reluctantly. As the twins walked through, Amara noticed Aisha and Lucas in the crowd, both looking amazed and concerned. Several other students nodded at them with newfound respect. They had almost reached their mom's car when Brad called out behind them. "Your kind doesn't belong here. This isn't over." The twins turned back briefly. The parking lot had gone silent again, everyone waiting for their response. "You're right about one thing," Amara said clearly. "It's not over. But not because of us. It's not over because you need to learn that treating people this way is wrong. And we're not going anywhere," Zaria added firmly. "We belong here as much as anyone else." With that, they turned and walked to their mom's car. As they climbed in, their mom looked concerned. "What was all that about?" she asked, watching the crowd of students through the windshield. "We'll tell you at home," Amara said, her hands trembling slightly now that the confrontation was over. As they drove away, both twins checked their phones. Videos of what had just happened were already being shared across social media. Comments were popping up by the second. "Dad's going to freak out," Zaria whispered. Amara nodded. "Master Chen was right. The storm came. And we stood our ground," Zaria added. They sat in silence for a moment, processing what had happened. "Do you think things will be different now?" Amara finally asked. Zaria looked out the window at the school growing smaller in the distance. "Definitely. But I'm not sure if that's good or bad yet." Their mom glanced at them in the rearview mirror. "Whatever happened back there, I want the whole story when we get home." The twins exchanged looks. For the first time since moving to Lakeside, they'd felt a weight lifting. No more hiding who they were. No more pretending to be less than they were. Whatever came next, they would face it together, just as they had faced everything else in their lives. By the time the twins got home from school, their phones wouldn't stop buzzing. Videos of the parking lot showdown were spreading like wildfire across social media. Some clips had already gotten thousands of views. "We need to talk," their dad said as soon as they walked through the door. He and their mom sat at the kitchen table, faces serious. For the next hour, the twins explained everything. The bullying, the online group, the hallway comments, and finally, what happened in the parking lot. "Why didn't you tell us?" their mom asked, tears in her eyes. "We didn't want to worry you," Zaria said. "Dad was so happy about his new job, and you were painting again." Their dad ran his hand over his face. "Your safety matters more than my job. Than anything." "We handled it," Amara said quietly. "Yes, you did," their dad admitted, a hint of pride breaking through his concern. "Master Chen taught you well." That night, the phone rang. It was Principal Turner. "Mrs. Johnson, we need your family to come in tomorrow morning before school. There's been an incident." The next morning, the twins and their parents sat in the principal's office. Principal Turner looked uncomfortable. Beside her sat a man in an expensive suit, Mr. Williams, the school board member and Heather's father. "We've seen the videos," Principal Turner began. But we need your daughter's side of the story. The twins recounted everything again, this time including all the details they'd left out in their first report weeks ago. When they finished, Mr. Williams cleared his throat. My daughter made some poor choices, but these girls used physical force against other students. Self-defense, their dad corrected firmly. After weeks of harassment that this school ignored. Principal Turner shifted in her seat. The videos are quite clear. Your daughters defended themselves without excessive force, but we have a zero-tolerance policy on physical confrontations. So they're being punished for protecting themselves? Their mom asked incredulously. No, Principal Turner said quickly. Brad, Heather, and the others are facing suspension, mandatory counseling, and community service. Your daughters will not be punished. Their dad leaned forward. Not good enough. What about the racist bullying? What about the hate speech online? Mr. Williams flinched at the word racist. We're implementing new anti-bullying measures, Principal Turner said. Diversity training for all students and staff, which should have been in place already, their mom pointed out. The meeting lasted another hour. By the end, the school had agreed to bring in outside experts to lead workshops on diversity and inclusion, create clearer reporting systems for bullying, and start a peer mediation program. As they left the office, their dad put his arms around both girls. I'm proud of how you handled yourselves, not just yesterday but these past months. You showed real strength. Walking into school that morning felt different. Students moved aside, watching them with new eyes. Some looked away in shame. Others nodded with respect. Aisha and Lucas were waiting by their lockers. You two are legends now, Lucas said with a grin. Why didn't you tell us you were basically ninjas? We wanted people to know us for more than that, Zaria explained. Well, now they know you for standing up to the biggest bullies in school, Esha said. That video hit 1 million views this morning. Throughout the day, other students approached them, some apologizing for not speaking up sooner, others asking about their training. A freshman girl quietly thanked them for standing up to Brad, who had been bullying her brother too. After school, they went to Master Chen's dojo as usual. He was waiting for them, a knowing look in his eyes. I saw the videos, he said. You controlled yourselves well. We didn't want to hurt anyone, Amara said. Master Chen nodded. The greatest victory is the one where no one is truly defeated, only taught. That weekend, something unexpected happened. Their dad received a call from Brad's parents requesting a meeting. At a local coffee shop, Brad sat uncomfortably between his mother and father. I'm sorry, he said, eyes fixed on the table. What I did, what I said, it was wrong. The apology felt rehearsed, but his discomfort was genuine. His parents explained that Brad was starting counseling and his suspension had cost him his starting position on the football team. Walking home afterward, their dad sighed. Real change takes time. That boy has a long way to go. So does the school, their mom added. And us? Zaria asked. Their dad smiled. You two are already miles ahead. You defended yourselves without letting hate infect your hearts. That's the hardest battle to win. That night, Zaria created a social media post, a photo of her and Amara at the dojo in their black belts. The caption read, There's more to us than meets the eye. Judge people by their character, not their appearance. #Stand strong, #no hate. By morning, it had been shared thousands of times. 6 months after the parking lot incident, Lakeside High felt like a different place. Not perfect, but different in ways that mattered. It was Amara's idea to start the self-defense club. After getting permission from Principal Turner, who was now quick to approve their requests, the twins began teaching basic techniques in the school gym every Tuesday afternoon. Remember, this isn't about hurting others, Zaria explained to the circle of students sitting on the mats. It's about protecting yourself and building confidence. Their first class had just 7 students. By the 3rd month, they had over 30 regular attendees, a mix of girls and boys from every grade level. Bend your knees a little more. Amara instructed a small freshman girl who was practicing a defensive stance. That's it. Feel how much more balanced you are now. The girl nodded, a smile spreading across her face as she felt the difference. Across the gym, Zaria was demonstrating a wrist release to another group. Among them, surprisingly, was Brad. His return to the twins' world had been awkward. After his suspension ended and his mandatory counseling began, he had kept his distance, eyes down whenever they passed in the hallway. Then one day he had approached their lunch table. "Can I talk to you?" he'd asked, shifting his weight from foot to foot. The cafeteria had gone quiet, everyone watching to see what would happen. "Okay," Amara had said cautiously. "I've been working with my counselor," Brad explained, his voice low. "She says I need to make real amends, not just say sorry." He swallowed hard. "I was wrong. About everything. The things I said, the things I did. There's no excuse." The twins had listened silently. "I don't expect you to forgive me," he continued, "but I want to learn how to be better." After a long moment, Zaria had spoken. "Come to our club on Tuesday. If you're serious about changing, start there." Now, 3 months later, Brad was a regular at their classes. He wasn't their friend. Some wounds take longer than 6 months to heal. But he was trying, and that counted for something. The biggest surprise, though, had been Heather. After the video went viral, she'd become a social outcast overnight. The same students who had followed her lead now avoided her in the hallways. For weeks, she'd kept to herself, sitting alone at lunch, eyes red-rimmed and makeup-free. Then one day, she'd approached the twins after school. "I hate what I did," she'd said, her voice breaking. "My dad always talked about those people taking jobs and spots in colleges. I just repeated what I heard at home." She wiped her eyes. "After everything blew up, my mom finally stood up to him. They're getting divorced now. She told me his views aren't okay, that they never were." It was hard to feel sorry for someone who had caused so much pain, but the twins understood that hate was often taught, not born. "What do you want from us?" Amara had asked. "Nothing," Heather had replied. "I just wanted you to know I'm sorry, really sorry." 2 months later, Heather had joined their club too. She sat in the back, rarely speaking, but always listening. Slowly, she was finding her own voice, one not shaped by her father's prejudice. Beyond their club, other changes had taken root at Lakeside High. The school now held monthly cultural awareness events. Hallway posters celebrated diversity. A zero-tolerance policy for hate speech was strictly enforced. The twins' story had reached far beyond their school. A local news station had interviewed them about standing up to bullying. Their video had been shared by anti-bullying organizations across the country. "You've made quite an impact," their dad said one evening as they sat around the dinner table. The family was celebrating his promotion, a real one this time, based solely on his performance over the past 6 months. "We didn't do it alone," Zaria pointed out. "No, but you had the courage to stand firm when it would have been easier to break or bend," their mom said, passing the salad. "That's something special." Amara smiled. "Master Chen says the strongest trees bend in the storm but never break." "Wise man," their dad nodded. "You know what he told me last week when I picked you up? He said in all his years of teaching, he's never had students who understood the true meaning of martial arts better than you two." "What's the true meaning?" their mom asked. Their dad looked at the twins with pride. "That sometimes the strongest response to hatred isn't a physical blow, but the refusal to let it change who you are." The twins exchanged glances. 6 months ago, they were the new girls, the outsiders. Now they were leaders, teachers, and for many, inspirations. "Pass the potatoes?" Amara asked, bringing the conversation back to the ordinary, because that was the real victory, finding their place, being themselves, and living ordinary lives in a community that had learned to see them as they truly were.